mentioned earlier, it's the 1947 boys basketball state championship team. Rich Berryman was on that team. He's going to serve tonight as the presenter for the honor and also an accept for that 1947 team. At this time, Rich, your show.
Thank you, Ron. Well, I certainly am happy to be here this evening. In fact, I'm happy to be any place this evening. But I'd first like to thank the committee, the Hall of Fame committee, of taking into the hall a class of 1947 state basketball champions. Unfortunately, I'm the only one left to talk about it. And it's a wonderful, wonderful story. And I'm only going to talk about it briefly because we have so many really, really good people to be presented, and I don't want to take any of their time away. Their time is more relevant today than 77 years ago when we were playing basketball. So I'd like, again, to thank the committee, and I'd also like at this time to thank Ron Detweiler for the many years of service. I don't need those, Ron. I'm going to wing this baby. Okay. Anyway, this is the 28th induction, and I think Ron has been a master of ceremony for all those except maybe one. And I think that's a great achievement. Ron has done so many things for the Clippers. As far as announcing for I don't know how many years, more years than I've been around, I think. But anyway, I think we owe Ron a nice hand of applause for his dedication. Now, I said before, this was going to be a story, and I'm going to make it short. But it starts back when a bunch of kids in the 6th grade was running around Columbiana looking for a game, a basketball game. And that could be any place in Columbiana. We called it alley basketball. There were basketball hoops and bank boards nailed on the telephone poles in the alleys. There were bank boards and hoops on garages and barns in the alleys. And I'll tell you one thing, playing basketball in an alley is not was not easy because they were kind of rutty. We didn't have any blacktop alleys in that time. They were dirt. And the people would bring their cinders from their coal-burning fire furnaces out there and put those in the alley. They had no gas. A gas furnace was unheard of. So it was difficult to play basketball. And one thing we learned during this, when we were out there, was you couldn't dribble the ball. And usually our balls were so lopsided, they wouldn't come back up to you anyway. So we did very little dribbling, and because of that, when we were in high school, we were the worst dribblers in the world. So here were these kids now, they entered junior high. This was our first experience with organized basketball. 6th and 7th grade basketball. There were no little Clippers or little basketball players unheard of. So we had a great coach when we were in junior high. His name was Waldo Ward. You probably have heard of Waldo. And one thing about Waldo, he hated to lose. Oh my gosh, he hated to lose. And if we happened to lose a game, and we only lost one or two, we didn't want to go near Waldo. But this rubbed off on us. We hated to lose too. Oh my gosh, this wasn't an intramural game. I mean, when we played, we hated to lose if that was the case. So junior high, we then went to high school. And during our freshman and sophomore years, we played on the JV squad. Now, when we were freshmen and sophomores, the 1945 team that was state runners up, they were seniors, and they beat the living crap out of us. They were big kids, strong kids, and they loved to put it to us. Freshmen and sophomores, they just loved it. But we learned a lot from them because we had to survive. We learned a lot on defense and offense. So during those 2 years when we were freshmen and sophomores playing on a JV team, we won 36 straight basketball games. That's 2 years. The 2 years we played. Now, I'm going to repeat that. 36 straight games. It was just amazing that we could do that. So, okay, freshman and sophomore. Now this team is ready to become juniors. And there was two fellows that came off the state runner-up team that came back and played with us as juniors. And they were two, Bill Newell was one, Bob Hung was the other one. They were two great guys. And they kind of took us and brought us together. And it was a great experience when we were juniors. And let's see, there was, Cabas, John Cabas, that was our coach. He liked to bring a big team in to play basketball against Columbiana. And he got Dayton Northridge, which was the team that was the state champions, which beat us at 45, and we were runner-ups. He brought that team into play from Dayton. Okay, here comes a team from Dayton. They were state champions the year before, and this was going to be a great experience for the people of Columbiana. So when they came, we were playing in our little gymnasium up in the high school, and it was packed. It was packed. They were leaning over those balcony in there, and the fire chief come down and closed the doors, wouldn't let anybody else in, and they beat us up. They had two kids off of their championship team. They were 6'5", they were brothers, and one of them went on to play Kentucky. So it tells you the kind of basketball we were playing against. So we lost that game. Then we went on into the tournament, and we lost in the district finals to North Kent. They were a very good team. So our junior year, our record was 19-2. And that's not too shabby, 19-2. Well, the next year was our senior year, and this is the big year for us, of course, 1947. And we started out the season a little apprehensive because our star player from the year before, Lee Thomas, Lee was an honorable mention All-Ohio, and I hate to say this about the coach, but anyway, John was our football coach, And the last game of the year, he got a game with Youngstown Cheney, and it was a JV game. But John had his ego that he wanted to beat this Youngstown team, Youngstown Cheney. Now remember, this was just a JV game. So he had Lee Thomas, our star basketball player, played quarterback in that game. Wouldn't you believe it? He broke his leg. And that went over Columbiana, and it goes like a lead balloon using our senior in a JV basketball or football game. But Lee came back in the last 7 games of our schedule, and that was really good because Lee was a great player. So we started out then as seniors, and we lost about, I think maybe our 3rd game to Salem. They had a big kid by the name of Pager, Bob Pager, about 6'6", and he was good, and Salem was good. They were very good. So we lost to them, and then we went on and played, and here's our coach again. He wanted to bring somebody in and put on our schedule that was good. And he got a hold of Canton South. And the Canton South at the time was a very good team in the Canton area. They were Class A and we were Class B. They were undefeated, and they come into our little gym, people all over the place, and wouldn't you know, we beat them by 3 points. Well, after that, Coach Cabot says, I've got a pretty nice team here. They're pretty dang good. And we were. We went from them through the tournament, and our last regional, in the regional game before you go into the finals, was played over at Kent State University, and we played Lowville. Well, we beat them by 1 point. Maybe we were lucky, I don't know, but we beat them by 1 point, and that's all that counted. So then we went on to Columbus and played in the state finals, and we played at the fairgrounds in Columbus, in the Coliseum there. And our first game was against Corning, and don't ask me where Corning is. Does anybody know where Corning is? Well, it's somewhere south along the river, I think. But they're very good. At least they thought they were pretty good. They were ranked about 3rd in state, and they had a terrific player, and he was the highest scorer in the whole state. So there we were playing our first game in the Coliseum, and we put a press on them, I'm telling you. We put a press on them. Oh, we devastated that team. And we beat him 77-44 or something like that. And at that time, that was a record for any state tournament game. So one of the nice things about playing down there, Dick Fisher, who we just named a stadium after right here, Dick Fisher was assistant coach at Ohio State. And Wes Fessler was the head coach at Ohio State, and they sat right behind our bench. And man, we thought that was something to have an Ohio State football coach sitting behind our bench rooting for us. So that was really nice. Well, we got into the finals against a team, New Knoxville, and it's out in the northwestern part of Ohio. And these kids were mostly, I think, German ancestors. Gosh, they were big, strong, good-looking guys, and they had a great team. They had a center, 6'6", burly, strong, and lo and behold, we beat them. To make a long story short, we beat them 43-34, and we were crowned then state champions. Then just a couple other things, and I'll get out of here. And this is relevant today. But our offense was very simple. We used 2 pivot men all the time and 3 people out front. And we would bring the ball down and run a set play. If it didn't work, from then on, it was freelance. And the freelance consisted of screen and roll, pass to our pivot men. We looked for the pivot men all the time. Cut, quickly, quick cuts, back cuts. But it was freelance. We never, people in the stand would say, set it up, set it up. We don't have time to set it up. We've got to get that ball up in the hoop in 5 passes. So, one time we were playing, and we were kind of screwing around out there. And the coach called timeout. We went over and he says, what are you guys doing out there? He says, you're out there screwing around and Rome is burning. And we looked at each other and we thought, Rome is burning? What does that have to do with our basketball, you know? But I guess it was a saying, and in a couple minutes he got it to us about get out there, couple passes. He never wanted us to pass more than 5 times and shoot the ball. So every time after that, if you called the timeout, we'd be walking over and we'd say to each other, hey, I wonder if Rome's still burning. But we still didn't know why he used that term. Maybe you can figure it out. So that was pretty much our offense. And I guarantee you, people, and this is relevant to today, that tomorrow, the Indiana Fever team with Caitlin Clark is going to be on TV tomorrow. And I guarantee you that they will bring that ball down the floor and they will run a set play. And from then on, that team is going to screen and roll, and hit their pivot curls and shoot the ball quickly. You watch it tomorrow if you have that opportunity, and you'll see the same offense that we were using 77 years ago. And it was fun playing for Coach Cavas. He was a great guy, and he was the only coach the high school had. He coached the JV football, then he coached the varsity football. He coached the JV basketball, then he coached the varsity basketball. And if the JV basketball team was doing real good, he'd call Art Rohr. Some of you people know Art Rohr. He'd call Art down to sit on the bench, and he'd go in and talk to us before the varsity game started. And it was funny, Art sitting down there, then all the kids on the bench, they were screaming at him, put me in, put me in, put me in. They wouldn't do that to Coach Cavas, but they had fun with Art. So John was a great coach, and as I said, he did all this by himself, all of it. And so I'd just like to take a minute to introduce our team, if I can remember their names. But I'll start out with, we had 4 pivot men, and the rest of us guys, we'd call them outside guys. But the 4 pivot men was Harry Stash McBride, Don Essenwine, Rich Grundy Reiner, and Wayne Beaver Ursler. Now, a little thing about Wayne Ursler. He was a great friend of mine until he passed away about 6 years ago, and we used to have breakfast every morning. But some people say, how come you call him Beaver? And when Wayne was young, he had a protruding, teeth. We call it then buck teeth. I suppose a orthodontist has some real good name for that. We call it buck teeth. And we used to tease Wayne. We'd say, Wayne, you're the only guy can eat an apple through a picket fence. But he took it nicely, and he didn't claim that we were bullying or anything like that would happen today probably. But after that, he got his teeth fixed and he was just a good-looking guy. And then our people that played out front was Lee Thomas, and I told you he played the last 7 games during the regular schedule. Then he played it in tournament, and he was wonderful. He made all Ohio. So there was Lee Thomas out front, Dick Perkins, Sam Creasan, Bob Peters, Russell Hum, and myself. And that was the 10 that was on our team. And I just loved each and every one of them. So after we come home then and won the state championship, the Boosters Club and the people, it was wonderful. I could spend an hour in here talking about the things that happened to us in Columbiana after we won that state championship team. Unbelievable. But the Boosters Club bought John Tavis, our coach, a new Ford, 46 Ford, brand new. That was nice. A month later, John called Board of Education and said he was resigning. Wow. Did that go over the community like a lead balloon? You know, they bought a coach a new car, and a month later he said he's leaving. They didn't like that. They didn't like that. But Sean did leave, and he went on to Case Tech as basketball coach. And they bought us guys a watch, nice watch, Gruen, old watch, still got it. You notice I don't have the wrap or the, you know, after 77 years it rotted, so I don't have it. But it's a talking watch, and I can hear it. It says, "Time's up, shut up and sit down. Thank you."
To take a look at this before they go tonight and thank Rich, but let me tell you something. He's 77. This is 77 years ago that you were on this team. You've done well, my friend.
I'm just happy to be here.